Good morning, friends. Good morning, friends of this world. Tirade, no, ad hoc, ranting and tirade and gloating center. Pretty important point today. What I'm gonna do is something called dead reckoning. Dead reckoning is you're like in the middle of the ocean and you try to read the winds and directions and so on for whatever little evidence you have. You come up with some conclusion, which may prove correct in your navigation, or may not be. But today, I'm seeing things, the undercurrents. I sense undercurrents going on in the Middle East. That's for this video is really for the U.S. My country of citizenship. That's where I live. And again, this may turn out to be correct. This may turn out to be just a misreading, bad weather report. But I bet money there's something going on. I mean, I don't bet money. I'm not I don't bet. So, let's see. Okay, so suddenly there's a flare up in the hostilities between the US in Syria or eastern Syria and the Ayatollahs Khamenei's, right? I found this a little bit extraordinary because apparently it didn't go it did not stop after, say, one or two episodes of hostilities. So, and it's flaring up, like I read today, there's like hostilities, there's like bombing and so on yesterday and the day before, and drones, attacks and counterattacks, and like slapping each other, right? And so on. But this seems to coincide with the following. One, the donkey, Bashar Assad, or the donkey, right, of Syria, visits to Moscow. And the situation there indicated something very stark. There was no Syria's flag, right, or the regime flag, which says that Putin says, that this is his, right, but this is not his. Well, we know that, but that's what he's trying to insinuate, right, that this country is no longer that regime country. This country, like that's what he's saying. He's saying, like this is my jig and so on. Jig, Jig, like a dance, right? Like he's trying what he's trying to say is he's claiming that, right? Because he fixed the regime. Like the United States knew about that. Israel apparently is the one who's running everything in there to destroy the Sunnis, right? But back again, so that's one thing. The second thing is the visit by Xi Jinping of China to Moscow as well. What else? It's the sudden thaw of relationship, which supposedly was hostile between Saudis and the Shia and Iran, right? I mean, to me, that sudden connection, right, is seems to be like an extraordinary event or extraordinary step, if you will. Why am I saying this? I mean, they were like few days before that, they were basically like like shooting at each other, like something similar to the OK Corral, right? Suddenly, these guys, as they shooting each other, right? They come and hug each other. Just doesn't work this way. The background of the Saudi family, we know what they are, right? And there has always been a link between the Saudis, well, the family, right, and the Karmatians, I would say, and the Jews, right, because the Saudi family seems to be either one or the other, or a mix thereof, or and so on. So there's something going on there, like rearranging of the knowns and the unknowns and the battlefield, and so there is preparation for something there. Here's my and there's of course your involvement of Iran in Ukraine, right? Ukraine. I said this way back, like a year ago, after the war started. I said the Shiites are in distress because now Putin is failing in Ukraine, and they may even bring conscripts into the battlefield. I think they're there, but apparently Iran is not able to produce so much, right? What else is going on? Nah, that withdrawal from Afghanistan. Don't misunderstand Afghanistan. And now, those who rule Afghanistan, again, about this particular point, identity of the modern day Taliban, not the first Taliban and but this Taliban. They're really brethren of the Saudi family. While they talk so much about brag and talk so much about Sunnism, I don't know about their direction, right? There are many things that say that they're not really. Even their flag toward the end, where it says Rasulullah, they lift up the Allah above. And that's what Saudis did to their flag not too long ago after this MBS took over. What that means is Rasul and then the Prophet of Allah, right? The Allah you lifted upward, meaning that you're not accepting that Muhammad is the Prophet of Allah, right? So they removed upward, right? This is a trick, right? We know this from way back, right? But that's it. So now you got your Shiites. I think again, this is a scenario. This is not a definite information. So here, what I'm doing is like sensing the undercurrents and reading the various, trying to sort out an intelligent signal from outer space where there's so much broadcast going on, right, and so on. And that's what I'm trying to do here, basically. So, but if I had access to intelligence information like you guys do, well, I know other things, here and here, and but not in this instance. I don't have specific information. But that said, it seems to me there's like how should I put it, a storm looming on the horizon, right, crawling in. And I think what's going to happen is this. They're going to attack the United States. China apparently is going to provide weapons and so on. And those Shiite Arabs, Shiites, Sunnis have nothing to do with this. Sunnis are. When you guys went and destroyed the Sunnis in Iraq and so on, you guys shot yourself as well. I'm talking to the Westerners. So I think they're going to get the United States busy with some real hot and intense war in the Middle East. Meantime, that gives them room to continue into Europe, into Ukraine, and then invade Taiwan and a few other things, right? So it seems to me, a few days ago, I thought Turkey was the target. I still haven't changed my mind about that. But now I am thinking United States as well. I misread it. I thought Bashar, the donkey, was planning on his own, thinking, cooking up some stuff in his brains, right? And that he's focused on Turkey because Turkey seems to be the major problem now, right? Because even though it's ruled by the Ataturks, the Israelis, right? But the vast majority is really Sunnis, right? There's like, you've got, 100 million Sunnis in there? So that would be a problem, right? For the Turks, and even Egypt for that matter, even though it's ruled by Jews, right? General Sisi of Egypt. You cannot have an army that's going to go into a city and mass murder people like the Syrian regime did. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a problem there. That's why that's why the donkey of Syria, keeps emphasizing on Turkey. I cannot, and lately, of course, you may say, well, that assumption is undermined by MBS depositing 5 billion into the Turkish central bank. I think they will, if they want to destroy Turkey, they will maintain the polity in there, or the regime. But Turks are my people. Well, so are the Kurds and the Arabs, right? But that's what I'm seeing. Again, that's what I'm reading. Let's put it this way. An intense war is going to erupt against the United States in the Middle East, or whatever is left there, right? Their forces in the east of the Euphrates. And they may actually, because now I am thinking, if something like this is going on, it's not likely, it's highly unlikely that Joby you know, is not aware of it really. So maybe they're conducting under, a shadow operation, working with those guys while pretending that the United States is against it and so on, similar to what they're doing about, the diplomatic bullying the Syrian regime, right? Similar to what they're doing. They talk against it out in the open, but under in the shadow world of shadows, they really for that, and that's like normalization of relation. They're trying to float up or legitimize that Syrian donkey, the one who murdered millions and killed millions and tortured millions, and still doing that. And not just that, he is now looking forward to do the same thing for those refugees. He wants to bring them, lure them back in, lure, L-U-R-E, right? Lure them back in, trick them, and then, slay them. And there's some 15 million of them, probably more, I don't know. So that's what he's trying to do. So that game is going on, right? That game is going on. So United States may be embroiled in some real bad fight, and that makes the United States busy to counter any offensive in Taiwan or Belarus or, in Europe or something like that. It was always the case when the enemies of the United States wanted to do something pretty bad on the account of the United States. They got the United States involved in a war. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, and they always secure the reason and the false flag for it. False flag means, like September 11, right? Sunnis have absolutely nothing to do with that, I assure you. And if you look at all these terrorists that supposedly carried out the operation, that terrorist attack in New York, not one of them is Iraqi. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. So US planners, something maybe in the work there. There's that, because now they hate the United States. Now that war that happened on August 2nd last year was either going to destroy the United States completely just by capitulating. If the US government capitulated on the visit by Pelosi to Taiwan, right, the United States would have been destroyed. Xi Jinping would come here to Washington in the White House and in front of all the reporters and the cameras and the optics would slap the president, right? And obviously now you're in a bind, you cannot do anything about it, right? But the United States answered back and won, right? China knows it cannot take on the United States as an enemy, militarily, intelligence, computers, and actually United States is the benefactor of the Chinese regime. The Chinese regime lives on exports to the United States and Europe and here and there. And they don't just want to jeopardize that. They cannot face the United States military in open warfare outside in the Pacific Ocean or anywhere. The United States will win against China very easy, right? And so against Russia as well. So there's that deep-rooted hatred against the United States by those Shiites, by those Alawites, by those Russians, by those Chinese regimes, I mean, and but the Shiites and Alawites are total. And above them, you know who, right? Netanyahu's, right? And there are, of course, coinciding with that, there are preparations by the Israeli Netanyahu to change the constitution, their constitution, right? So that he cannot be removed. Or I don't know the details of that, as if he too is preparing for something bad, right? Because you want to be in charge if things break out. So that's my expectation, is the United States will probably be dragged into another war in the Middle East, right? Not by Sunnis. No. Not by Sunnis. No, we don't do that. And I think while the United States is embroiled in that war, its enemies are going to do things, right? Like pretty bad things. And like I say, history is my witness. All these wars, the United States didn't want to have anything to do with them. And in being involved in them, World War I and World War II as well. United States being involved in these wars, they lost a lot. they came out they didn't come out unscathed, right? They were hurt pretty bad, the economy and so on and so forth. And there has been, of course, the theft of trillions as well, by way of stock markets, executive orders, stimulus. And I heard lately that there is some kind of an undeclared rule or law that to support and prop up the new businesses, and the government by way of White House and Congress and Senate and give them money, right? How do they give them money? I'll give you an example. There's WW. They work, right? Or we work, right? They went IPO and they got $30 billion from the government. And I think their offices were closed, right? So you can, if you're, whoever it is, right? You can get a couple of chairs, pick them up off probably those trash dumpster. You know how they put furniture in there? Buy a table. Now, it doesn't have to be 4-legged table. It could be 3-legged table. And a used computer and go IPO and get $30 billion by that rule. This rule is something similar to the visa that is given to geniuses, right? By the US government. You know what I'm talking about, right? Trump's, what's her name? Wife, Melania, I think. Melania, the one who comes from Slovakia, I think. Supposedly, she got a visa on genius visa, because she's genius. So there's such rule, right? Because if you're genius, then the government, of course, nobody is going to hear about that, is going to forward that much to you, right? And then your investors with $1, $2 investment here and there, down the hatch. Have a nice day, my friends. But Americans, like I said, the disclaimer or stipulation, if hostilities continues and the United States is dragged into a war in the Middle East against the Shiites, and then the Shiites are going to attack the United States, what that tells me is they're trying to keep the United States. Well, first they want to evict the United States from the Middle East, right? The second thing they're going to do is really hit the United States from the back, attack Belarus. I mean, not Belarus. Go through Ukraine and Taiwan and so on. Look, the visit by Xi Jinping to Moscow and Bashar the donkey to Moscow is not exactly a friendly visit. There was a lot of planning, and some of the information that they have doesn't go through intelligence channels or diplomatic channels or so. They deliver it person to person, similar to the meeting between Stalin with Trump in Helsinki. There are certain things, even hard drives and so on, they only pass by way of so and so. This information they never risk. So there's that very, very deep communications medium, right, or network, right? And that's, I don't think this is even declared by way of normal speech. Have a nice day, my friends. Zem, that's S-Z-E-M-M, like Zem, T-H-E-M, I usually say. Zem are preparing for something like they did World War I, World War II, and Vietnam and Korea and Iraq and Afghanistan and Gulf War, and you get it, right? So there you have it. Again, it may not turn out to be the case, but hey, that's what I've been seeing moving. I feel the waves under the current, and like I said, those Moscow meetings were not exactly on friendly basis, like relatives trying to hug each other and shit like that. No. Have a nice day. Bye now. Hello, friends. This is an addendum to the original video. If something like this will happen, here's what I'm thinking those Shiites of the Middle East and their Israel are going to do. They're going to accuse the Sunnis of attacking the US, like ISIS and shit like that. ISIS is symbolic. We don't know if they exist, as a matter of fact. And then America will go about destroying Sunnis, right? When their real enemy is, that the war I talked about that is brewing, and, there are some omens, right? they always will direct you toward the wrong target. They're going to accuse the Sunnis of something, or attacking you and shit like that, and they will actually do just exactly that. So be careful what you hear and what you read of those reports and so on, and of the reports that you hear. And again, I'm going to repeat, if there is such a war against the United States in the Middle East to get them involved into such an upheaval and inferno, right? They mean to get the United States busy. This way they cannot provide Ukraine with weapons, and then China, and then they will make their drive toward the Atlantic, right? And then China will probably attack Taiwan. Many things, right? Saudi apparently, look, Saudi was always in the same boat as that of Putin and Netanyahu, right? Even religion-wise, right? So now, don't take what they're saying about like thawing the ice and suddenly they become brothers and comrades and all that stuff, right? No, that's not what it is. But these are extraordinary steps. I would say Europeans be very careful. If they attack the United States in the Middle East, and of course they're going to accuse the Sunnis, and now the US is going to try. I said before, they need some kind of an act to make Iran take over Saudi, right? How do they do that? Well, in taking over Iraq, those F-lings, in the Middle East committed the September 11 Act. Now, if you recall, there's not one Iraqi terrorist among those terrorists, right? Yet it was the main target for W, right? And the results was to make to empower the Iranian regime to take over Iraq and then Syria and Yemen and here and there, right? So maybe there's some kind of a move to take over Saudi. And now I did, like in the past, I got some real feelings that they will commit some kind of a big act in Saudi itself, like doing something to a president or whatever it is. And then now United States come and then B-52, I'm using the B-52 here like a verb, right? B-52 the hell out of all these cities in Arabia, right? Sunni cities in Arabia, right? And then Iran comes in and then rules the peninsula again. You see the game, you see the pattern, folks. So now if they accuse the Sunnis of doing anything, you cannot buy that anymore. And then you may say, well, we don't care, they're all the same there. Oh, believe me, what happens there impacts your future directly. It already did. Have a nice day, my friends. And this is just an addendum to that earlier video I made. I'm just gonna splice them together. Have a nice day, my friends, and bye now.